Welcome back to another week of The Absurd Show, The Absurd Pod brought to you by Andrew and Sardor. Any opening remarks from your end?
No, very very excited. We just launched our that's absurd rubric. It's gonna be posted as a separate clip. I think that's gonna fly better honestly than this pod because it's more lightweight, shorter, and just more fun. But I think we should sprinkle on more fun and energy on these pods. I'm super pumped today. So let's get rolling. I think this will be a really good episode.
Thank you for that, Sardor. Beautiful intro. Let's get right into it. Breaking digital habits. Now, this one, I'm in love with
Uh,
this app, I gotta say. I've been using it for about 2 weeks. It's called the Touch Grass app, and what it does is it makes you go out and touch some grass, take a live photo of it before you can open your phone again. It locks your phone.
wow.
So, you
Like
know,
completely, like or just certain apps.
you can finagle the settings to whatever apps you want, but I've been going with the completely. So I go right outside and touch some grass.
Got it. Got it. Wow, I love it. This is cool. So how's it been working for you? How often does it ask you to? Like, is it random or
You set your frequency. The standard is just once a day. Go outside, touch grass. So nothing
and a
too
certain time, or like it just does it whenever?
It's a certain time. I think I can't remember.
But you're going in touching grass when needed.
I'm going outside and touching grass. So it'd be a nice,
That's cool.
cool collection video to put together of all the grass touches. But
Okay.
the question here that relates to apps, can this help us escape our doom scrolling? Another add on to that, I've seen a lot of people recently talking about content creators getting less and less engagement, and a lot of people are deducing that this is from burnout. People are constantly getting fed new ads, social media posts, you name it. Where's apps at in this picture of changing the doom scroll?
Look, I mean, this category is gonna keep getting better. Yeah, whether that's general burnout, I can't speak to that, but screen fatigue is a thing. I have that. I've been just taking breaks when I have that because otherwise, like, I can't do sprints anymore. I mean, I hate to break my habit of like deep work, and it's kind of annoying. Like, I just get to deep work and I get screen fatigue, and I need to go walk and do certain things to get myself back in track. But there's another one that I really like. I think it's called Brick. Have you seen Brick?
No, I haven't.
It's literally like this piece of like plastic brick that you put on your, let's say, fridge and your in your apartment, and like it's for social media. And to use social media, you need to go and like tap this brick like with the NFC on this app, and it unlocks the app. But like the point is that it makes you move. It makes you go move if you want to
Interesting.
use your. So it's like friction, adding friction, right? I've been using ClearSpace, which is hardware free version of that. I'm on this 31 day push-up challenge. And I think I gave up
Mhm.
on day 10, honestly. To open my Instagram, it asked me to do a push-up, right? And one push-up is 1 minute of scrolling. So right now I'm out of scrolls, and like it's so funny. I was faking push-ups when I was in the car because I couldn't do push-ups, and I was really craving Instagram. And like,
What, faking like it's like
yeah,
movement?
like I put the camera on, right? It watches me, right? And I've been faking the push up, like just trying to like show that I'm doing a push up. And like I was so desperate, I guess I was able to fake it. And like it thought I did a push up. It's so funny.
That's that's
Oh, I
called
think I
brick,
froze
or
up.
that's the clear space one.
Yeah, it's clear space. But generally, I think this is a thing. It's gonna keep growing because people, I think I don't know if it's a burnout. Burnout is a separate thing, I think, from this. But there is definitely a screen fatigue going on. And the demand for this is gonna keep going up. I think people should build more of these. Make them more absurd too, because like yeah, like this thing, the clear space, it has an AI that watches with pretty precisely can tell if you're actually doing a push up or not, or like you can make it a squat, you can make it steps. But I like it because if you don't do it like that, people like myself, they get addicted and waste time. So I see this market growing a lot.
Yeah, I think we've seen the mental health wellness space, the apps take off pretty well the last 3 or 4 years, but I think it's kind of drilled down into a new niche of replacing doom scrolling social media apps, specifically from what stems with all that versus just general life, work, health balance, all of that. I'm seeing a lot more specifically focused on this, get off social media aspect. People want to be outside more. I hate to say it, I'm on apps all the time and on all these AI products, but I've seen a pushback, 2020, 2021, all the US pretty closed down, COVID, and we're kind of getting on that last edge of, all the states, everybody being opened up and people getting outside more, living life a little bit more. There's a lot going on in the world. So I think this is
100%.
a good niche to be in right now. I think it'd be you'd be early on if you got into it.
Totally, totally. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd build more. I have some ideas on like screensaver apps or what do you call this category? I guess like mental well-being, social media is like limiting category on
Yeah.
how to do these better because like as a power user of these apps, I've seen some flaws. So if anybody wants to build an app like that, I can happily share some of my ideas on how to build something that's gonna really be better than most of these apps, right? For one example of a feature idea I had for this is like, all right, don't just limit my Instagram. Whenever I go on Instagram or social media, throw me off to another helpful app that I want to use. Because like the secret of like breaking bad habits is like replacing them by better habits, right? So if I want to listen to audiobooks more, why don't you just throw me off to Audible when I open Instagram, and say, hey, why don't you listen to this book? It's a really good one. Or if I'm going down on doom scrolling Timu and shopping some bullshit, after 5 minutes, you just throw me off to read a book or listen to a podcast. So, like, that's one feature idea that I had that nobody's done it yet for these
Yeah.
apps. So I think yeah, and it's happening in the West. I think it's going to start happening more on in the eastern part of the world as well.
Yeah.
Chinese and like Asian markets where they're even more screen addicted. In
It's
China,
true.
like this is even worse than in America, right? So I think there's an opportunity to build apps like this.
Well said. Well said. Let's roll on to an interesting conversation here. So, AppLovin is a public company that specializes in the app distribution space. Now, they have faced some interesting ethical concerns over direct download. You see here in the bottom right of this image. It goes to, if you think of seeing a website, you click a button and it's already downloading a file on your computer without you signing up for a software, clicking, download for my Mac OS here. This is what comes to mind with direct download, but they
Oh,
had a huge drop in their stock on the heels of a short selling report. So I'm just
wow.
curious, Sartor, your thoughts on this direct download and, if you know anything
It's
about
crazy. They
AppLovin.
were discussing AppLovin as a successful company the other day on My First Million that they were betting against this company when it was just coming out, and then it obviously, proved otherwise. It's become really big, and I guess that was pre this news. That was before these
Yeah.
news. So I've honestly don't know too much about this company. So direct download you're saying is like when you go on a website and just on your phone, right, it downloads something without your consent. And what's the purpose of downloading? Is it like is it a tracker, like it tracks something on your device then after that, or what?
Yeah, I'd have to look more into it. A lot of the things they're saying is it being ad fraud in some sense or another, data theft from Meta, the tracking once you click through to download that app. There's a lot into this here. So we'll include a couple links when this episode gets posted that you can follow up on. But their stock went up 36 in just 2 years. This article says turning a $20,000 investment into enough to buy a house,
Wow.
which is pretty wild.
So it's like it's an
But
app distribution, app marketing platform, right? That basically helps you
yeah,
like grow, but they did it in not very ethical ways, right?
yes, that's a good way
Like
to sum it up.
shortcutting and breaking some okay. So here's my take on this, right? Generally, I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of like AppLovin, but look, I'm pro healthy growth hacking, right? Like I'm a proponent of better ask for apology than permission, like our boy at OpenAI does often, right? He stole Scarlett Johansson's voice and knew the lawsuit was coming, knew she wasn't cool with it, but he's okay. He can afford a lawsuit. He can afford a settlement with her. Great. That I think is a healthy level of ask for apology, not permission, right?
Pushing the envelope a little bit. Yeah.
Right. But that's okay for a startup. I mean, he knows what he's doing, right? These
Yeah.
guys, I think they've taken it a little too far, right? And they're not a huge enterprise that can afford mistakes like this. I mean, this is their whole entire product. Another example of a flop like this was, I mean, not exactly like this, but if you remember, I think it was last year that it was revealed that Amazon Go, right? Remember those Amazon Go stores, that cashierless stores that AI was there and like you could just like walk out without paying because it was drew from your Amazon account. It knew exactly what you grabbed. Have you seen that store?
No, I haven't.
Oh, so there's a concept since 2018. Amazon launched these stores without cashiers where you could just walk in, scan your Amazon account QR code, and then grab anything you want and walk out, and then it would withdraw the money from your Amazon account. And so it was supposed to be a computer vision. I tried it. I remember I did a video review of that in 2018. It was a really cool concept. You know what turned out to be that they never had an AI. They literally hired an army of Indians that were live watching and
No
doing these
way.
calculations in real time. Yeah, I swear to God. That was so
That
funny.
that you are the person you're trying to scan as type thing, or
No, no, like so like they said, all right, well, you watch it.
of what people bought. Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. The AI was supposed to watch and put in like what you bought, right? So it was never an AI. It was all humans. They hired a huge team in India that was sitting there and doing these things. Okay, that is, do you call it unethical? No, it's their own loss. They never had technology to show for it. But when companies like this, they push the envelope too far when the whole thing is their entire product. If Amazon Go fails, it's a fraction of their, department. It's a one fraction of their company. But this is their entire company. So like when they're doing unethical things like this, I mean, I think it's a little too much. So good luck getting back on track to them. But I see another big rise, big flop, right? Type of thing. So
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it fell 36%, but this bad boy went on a run from 40 some dollars to 500 from the
wow. Oh, it's
middle of
still not at the bottom, right? So it's still only
no,
36%. I
it's still healthily up there. But
Okay.
they are
Maybe
facing
time
this
to buy if you
massive.
think they can
Yeah.
bounce back. I mean, yeah, don't know hell of a lot about this company, so hard to comment, but you
Yeah.
know,
Something interesting I just read here is that it was one of the biggest conversion sources in Google Play's ecosystem for years, but almost no one knew what it was. My thought is that it is its own app that has links to download other apps or something of that sort, like a last mile conversion source of people downloading apps, and they had an
uh,
aggregator of some sort.
okay, it's sort of like, okay, I think the easiest closest parallel in our world, Andrew, is like black hat SEO in a way, right? Kind of like how you plant links invisibly and people click things that they don't want to click. And it's like on those adult websites, they, not that I use them, but I heard that they plant links and make you click on ads, and then they report like fake traffic. So I guess they use those like black hat methods, right, to help you grow your app.
Potentially, potentially. You got to look into it. They are a big
Yeah.
company that has a decent amount of products and, a lot of customers. So definitely something we got to look at for distribution here and, not write them off before looking into it further.
Yeah, wild stuff, wild stuff. Yeah, so stay ethical, push the limits when you can, but do calculated risks, right? Is our take from this.
It's all perception. You never know what the truth is
Yeah,
till a certain extent.
we'll
All
find out
right,
later.
let's roll into the next topic here. Disrupting the design space. So, Adobe launched a mobile app. It's also
They never had a
free.
mobile app?
No, they did not
Adobe
have a
Photoshop, you mean? Yeah.
Photoshop. Yeah, they've had, what is it, Premiere Pro or a light version of that, but it's free. Will free Photoshop take off like Canva? Because I think that was one of Canva's biggest drivers is that so many people could
It's a
come in for
freemium,
free.
yeah.
Premium model.
Well, look, I don't think it's just the pricing that set Canva apart. Main thing with Canva was, yeah, price was like removing friction. It made it easy to enter their product, but Photoshop was never, I mean, Canva was never it's one of those products that's not a direct competitor to an existing product. actually a product that is so much beyond the initial market that Canva brought in so many more millions of people that were never able to even dream of designing anything into design, right? It
Yeah.
made anybody a designer. So like Photoshop never got to that territory. Photoshop is still a professional tool. So
Yeah.
think about it like if there was a tractor or like a big truck. A big truck, like imagine a road where only trucks were driving. So all cars were commercial cars, and that's Photoshop. And now there is Ford comes up with a regular consumer car that now you can drive to work. But like consumer car does not compete with the commercial truck, right? So Photoshop is a commercial truck that has always been a commercial truck, and Canva came and took the consumer market that commercial trucks weren't even touching, right? So I see this as like, okay, a commercial truck now, let's say, what's a commercial truck company? What's a brand that makes commercial trucks? I know one called MAN, I think MAN.
Mac's a big one.
Max, okay, let's say Max, right? That never tapped into consumer market, now released a consumer pickup truck, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't even know if it's a consumer pickup truck, right? But a lighter version of their truck. That's what it is. So like I don't think this is even going into the territory of Canva, but good for them that they did. I think it's going to be a lighter, easier version of Photoshop. I hope they're going to double down on AI. I'm not seeing any AI highlighted on the app. So
It's
that is
interesting
weird to me.
because their AI features are what drew me back to Photoshop. I used it a lot years back, but that concept of it being a professional tool, I don't see myself going onto an app and using Photoshop. I think of Photoshop as like you need to make some really specific refinements, small adjustments, make some
Yeah,
magic happen. But their AI that they've added in here over the last 5 or so months is pretty darn good. I
really.
will say, some of the stuff that we've seen with Sora today is comparable.
Really? Wow. Got to give it a try. But again, you see, like it's still like the UI is pretty clunky. When I think of Photoshop, I think like clunky UI, hard to use, big learning
Yeah.
curve. So like it's just honestly really hard to reinvent. It's like the innovator's dilemma, right? Do they really
Yeah.
break what's working to come up with something new? I mean, I think it's like they got to just come up with a completely new product. My take, my advice, my takeaway for our friends at Adobe is guys, you just got to drop a new product that doesn't even associate with Adobe. You know how Facebook does that? You know, Facebook drops, Meta drops, I think 3 or 4 different apps every year that are
Yeah.
completely disassociated with Meta. They just casually drop new social apps to test and they sunset most of them, right? None of them so far have really taken off. They usually sunset most of them, but then they roll them into features into existing apps. These are
Yeah.
mini experiments. So I think Adobe's got to do something like that. Like drop like you know how those like you know the apps that are making the most amount of money with generative AI photo editing apps are companies in Belarus, in Turkey, and there's another company in Miami actually that makes AI apps. They make wrappers around these like Sora and
Yeah.
GPT API. There's a company in Istanbul, Turkey. They're called Codeway. You know how much revenue they make per year making wrappers around GPT and AI?
No, tell me.
$100 million.
That's
A
wild.
company you've never heard of called Codeway.
That's
So
wild.
they casually drop these wrappers, but they advertise them like hell to consumers because Turkish government also gives a 40% subsidy on ad spend to tech companies, which is another whole topic that most people don't know about. Yeah, which is why Turkey, you'd never think of a tech hub, right? Turkey's
Yeah.
crushing it with app studios right now. Crushing
That's
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
It reminds me, I saw something the other day. You're talking these AI rappers, the cutting edge, but just taking, putting a nice niche or face on it, dressing it up. On the flip side of that, I saw, I think it was a Ukrainian app studio that's doing 17 million a year off of just simple old school apps,
Oh yeah,
PDF Center,
yeah.
IO Converter, you name it.
Oh, I
I
think I
think
think you're talking about the what are they called? The app studio that made Spark email app. They have an email app, right? It's
potentially, I just remember seeing a graphic where it had
called
these.
Readle. It's called Readle. I think that's the one
Yep,
you're talking about.
yep,
They're
yep.
HQ'd in San Francisco right now. Their founders in San Francisco, but they're a Ukraine-based company. Yeah.
Gotcha. And I think the blend of these two things that we just mentioned, or using that for research, looking at the App Store, seeing which categories have a ton of downloads and ratings,
Yeah.
but don't yet have a leading AI powered version of that is a good niche to look at.
That's one great strategy. Another thing that I think big companies like Adobe should do, Andrew, is like, I mean, I sound like a couch, expert. How do you call it, right? Giving advice to big corporations, but Adobe's been trying to acquire big companies like Figma. You know that their Figma acquisition failed, right? Because of
Yeah.
antitrust law, whatnot. What they should be doing is not try to acquire big companies, big dogs like Figma, but instead go after these smaller studios, smaller app studios. Go acquire that Ukrainian company that's making $17 million a year. They still have an audience. And you know what? Don't brand them as Adobe.
Yeah.
Keep the same brand, just make it a subsidiary of Adobe that just owns these app studios. Same advice to like Google and all these big dogs, right? Google's trying to acquire Wiz right now for 33 billion. My prediction
So
is gonna that it's gonna fail. That acquisition is also gonna fail. All the I mean, unless Sundar Pichai is gonna really already like over like he foresaw that, and well, I think that's what it is. Not to get too political, but they tried to acquire Wiz last year for 23 billion first, and
really,
then that deal didn't go through, yes. And now they're acquiring them for 33 billion. So everybody's joking that Wiz made $1 billion a month not selling last year. And
yeah.
and they're saying, "Oh, this guy's genius. He just waited 12 months and now he's selling at a higher valuation." No, no, no. I don't think that's what it was. My theory, conspiracy theory around Wiz acquisition of Google acquisition of Wiz, is that Google did not proceed with that because Trump was not elected yet. And now that Trump and Sundar Pichai are homies, he's relying on Trump's support to make this acquisition happen. So that's why they didn't proceed with it last year. But anyways, that was a side note. We can make it a short clip. James, please make this a short clip. Where do we mark this? That was a really
I
good content. I
mark it.
think
Just mark
my
it.
conspiracy theory around like Wiz Google acquisition.
Yeah. Couple things on that. I did see a similar post that said, just in 4 years to 33 billion, that's 10 million of value creation a week, something along those
Yeah.
lines, which is wild. But also on this Adobe suggestion you got for them to start acquiring app studios, I gotta ask, do you hold Adobe stock? Not financial advice. Do we gotta throw that disclaimer in
No, I don't hold Adobe stock. I don't hold a lot of stocks. I know you
there?
trade stocks, but I don't. But look, when I say Adobe, I'm talking big tech. Okay?
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
tech, this is another short clip we should make. Big tech is trying to acquire big companies to grow, right? They need to constantly acquire companies. Like Microsoft always did that and then they got banned from it. And they always face antitrust laws all the time. And maybe they'll face it less with Trump being elected now. But these companies should start acquiring these smaller studios from Turkey, from Eastern Europe, from Ukraine, Belarus. Hopefully, Uzbekistan will be on the map soon too. That in combination will give them a lot of value because these companies are making 20, 30, 50, $100 million a year making these wrapper apps. So that's fine. Like for example, if Adobe wants to get into consumer photo editing market to compete with Canva, what they shouldn't do is like try to release a consumer version of Photoshop, but instead they should try to like acquire existing consumer photo editing apps from these smaller app studios and then just have them under Adobe. Okay, and don't
Before
don't
they
even
take their
rebrand it.
market share.
Exactly, before the next Canva becomes the next Canva. But most of these will never become next Canva though. These wrapper apps, they're just printing money. They just arbitraging Google ads and Facebook ads to get downloads and make money on subscription. But they'll
Yeah.
never become the next Canva because they don't really innovate because they make like 20 different apps a year. They'll never become the next Canva. But they're printing money. But Adobe acquiring them could turn them into the next Canva. You know what I mean? That is my takeaway. Adobe CEO, big tech CEOs, listen up. This is
Yeah.
what you should be doing.
Yeah. The turning GPT wrapper apps into a shelved product, right? That could just be churned
Because
out.
we talked about it, the value is not in the freaking API that they're using.
Yeah.
It's in the UI, it's in the user base. So these apps, they've acquired user base. So big tech companies like them should be acquiring these apps, these app studios, and turn them into part of their big tech strategy. Honestly, if I wasn't running Synergy Labs right now, I would open up a PE or a big fund to acquire these app studios and turn them into big tech companies. That's what I would be doing. That's the ultimate game right now.
It's interesting. In another life, right?
Well, maybe in a couple of years. Maybe
Maybe a
we'll
couple years.
we'll sell Synergy Labs to Adobe. We're on the market. Okay? If you want to give us, we'll take
Very.
1 billion. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it's got my brain going in 100 different directions here. I had a similar chat with somebody earlier about the stock market, that AI infrastructure is been a little overheated. That's why we're seeing a pullback. But this goes to the same principle. And where I said this next is companies that are consumer AI products, right, are going to be the next big wave. I can't tell you any company that is from the ground up built as a AI consumer product that has made it to the stock market. I don't think we've seen
Not
anything
in the stock
prove it.
market, but there are some contenders that are up and running for that. One cool thing I got to show you again, a little bit off topic here, but who cares? We're doing this thing casually. I received my pendant. We could actually do another this that's absurd session on this. Have you seen this
Yeah.
pendant thing? I haven't tested it yet, but I'll do a video on this. This is Limitless AI, a consumer AI company that this is basically Fathom Note Taker, but in real life. It's a small little wearable that you clip on onto yourself, and you just record everything throughout the day, and everything you say is recorded offline as well.
Yep, I gotta break mine out. That's I think that's where the next leap for us is. We're so reliant on these meeting recorders joining in the actual meeting, the note takers joining the meeting, it being on, making sure you have your AI turned on. But when it's always there with you and you have that random inspiration, you want to talk, say something to it, or you're having a conversation with somebody and that
Yeah.
brilliant idea comes up, which it does run into the interesting whole nether box to open of, data privacy. You're not supposed to be recording people without
Yeah, what they
consent.
say here is like if the other person does not give a consent, it doesn't record their voice. It only does
Gotcha.
yours. I don't know how
Okay.
true it is. But one thing for sure is like this is the fastest way to turn away any opposite sex from
Yeah.
being attracted to, you know?
Yeah,
Have you seen
no,
that
that's
meme? When a dude
yeah.
wears this bullshit thing on his head, a wearable that does the same thing, and everybody's joking that, hey, this is the fastest way to de-attract the opposite sex from you.
Yeah. It sounds like a YouTube video. I did 1,000 dates with an AI pin trying to get a second date.
For real. I mean, yeah, thank God I don't care about that, so I can just wear this and be a lunatic.
Yeah. All right, we got to roll on to our next one here. Now, this is interesting. When work comes to a halt, are we too dependent on single tools? Now, this is interesting because we've talked prior about trying to consolidate everything into one tool to avoid tool overload. But what happened recently? Slack had a big old outage. It was out for, I think, 8 hours of the day, and it wasn't everybody globally. We are distributed teams. Half of our team, some of our team had access. Some people, the mobile app worked, some people it didn't. But for me, I know I felt like a lost dog when Slack goes down.
For real, I mean, Slack, they position themselves as their digital HQ. I like that, and yeah, we talked about it. We've been trying to consolidate everything into Slack. Our meetings, our notes, our documentation, our project management, communication mainly, right? I mean, nothing happens without communication. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't have an outage, but when you were out of pocket, it was weird. It was like you left office and you got locked out of the office, is how I felt. Because this is literally our office, right? I mean, that's where I go find everybody at work. I feel at work when I open Slack. So, I mean, look, Slack is part of Salesforce. Salesforce is a big dog. They're pretty reliable, so I'm not afraid of Slack. Was If Slack was a small startup, like we use some tools that are small startups, right? Like Revenue Hero, for example. Revenue Hero is a scheduler tool that we use. It's a really cool, nimble, fast team out of India, but they're like a couple guys that are just, they're not a very big team. So if it was a team like that, I'd be a little scared. But I'm pretty confident in Slack and Salesforce. I think we'll be fine with Slack. But I see your point of like, just I don't know, maybe there's a market for a backup product, like maybe
Slack up,
data backup. I don't know, like
Slack
whatever
up.
you call it. Slack app, yeah, Slack app is a product idea. Somebody creates Slack app that backs up your Slack outside of Slack itself. Because like right now there's a backup, but the backup itself lives in Slack, you know.
Yeah.
So there should be a third-party cloud that backs up your data.
And
Honestly,
look,
data
this is
migration is a big thing too. Like I would happily switch out of Slack if to a better alternative there was cheaper, better alternative, but it's all the data. Like how do we switch our conversations, you know?
yeah, you gotta swallow the clean slate pill and move over as much as you can.
Yeah.
These cases are, once a year, maybe once or twice a year. Sometimes Cloudflare has an outage, right? The big company that powers majority of the internet. So it happens. My take is it's kind of like the tech workers' snow day when it goes down when these things
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's inevitable. I think maybe we'll have it less within time, but it is what it is. I mean, Slack outages have been happening actually since I've been using Slack since what, 2018, I think. Yeah.
Win some, you lose some. All right, on to the next. Now this is pretty funny in the sense of this was posted on Reddit sub r/recruiting hell. We're so cooked. LOL. Godspeed everyone. It is a job posting for a technical project manager. This company Naked, and there were 54 applicants in 2 minutes.
Well,
Is the market saturated with supply? Are jobs becoming harder to land because of AI? What's your take on this?
no, dude, I think this is a funny. Our colleagues over at Naked, our friends at Naked, got spotlighted, highlighted here, I guess. Good for them. But I think this is just the irony of like, I knew this was coming, where AI is gonna be on both sides, right? I mean, I'm sure everybody here experienced a moment where, especially when GPT first came out, I used to like write all my emails with GPT. I would send a GPT generated email, and then I would get a response from a person who also generated with GPT. And that's like, at least there's a human in the loop.
Yeah.
This is an example of no human in the loop. This, I'm pretty sure, is an AI generated job that LinkedIn had to make something, right, with AI. So they rolled out this AI generated jobs. You can just like describe now. I've tried this feature. You can just describe a position and you don't have to fill up the JD. It'll create a JD for you. So it created a job description for them. Then the easy apply is also another AI that you can just like apply with one click. So the irony here is like it actually doesn't make anything easy. It just makes it a shit show where on one side there's an AI generated job, on the other side there is AI generated applications. And there's no human in the loop. Barely any human in the loop. And
Yeah,
I don't think it
there's
has to
just
do with the job market.
there's just so much more application or job postings than also people applying for jobs left and right. I'm sure with AI, there's people all over the world trying to work 5, 6 jobs, see what they can get away with. I've seen posts like this before with big tech, Meta, people working at Meta and Google at the same time. But I bet that also trickles down to, companies that are in the blue chip world, large tech companies. But these other ones that, there's people probably trying to work 5, 6, 7 jobs with AI.
And that too, yeah. But I think mainly this has to do with just like how LinkedIn just rolled out their new product feature, and that's just messing shit up, honestly. Because I've been on this as
Yeah.
a
It
somebody who posted
reminds
a
me
job value
of
of
what I
this.
messaged you about earlier. You mentioned, turn on LinkedIn Premium. You can now get service requests directly from your page. There's a
Yes,
button, somebody's on
yes.
there, request service.
We literally have a client who's working with us because of that. Hey, Crystal.
That's awesome. And on the flip side, since I've turned it on, the 30 submissions I got this week have all been job applications
Oh,
disguised as
that is
service.
a shit show, by the way. Yeah, that is a shit show. My review of LinkedIn Premium service request, by the way, real quick, is like it's a shit show. So it was funny, like you know why that happened, how that happened. I think there's something going on there. So this is another clip, James. Let's clip this separately. So I activated LinkedIn Premium after a long time of not using it as a free trial back in October of 2024. And that first month, I got a service request from a client that was a really good client, and we closed that deal for a good amount. Then I was like, oh wow, this works. Free trial, nice. I'm gonna actually activate the paid subscription. I activate the paid subscription, and the shitstorm of spam starts coming in. So no real leads start coming
That's
in.
exactly what just happened to me too. The page started like less than a week ago or so.
It's really weird. What the hell are you doing, LinkedIn? Like when we're on a free trial, you're giving us a gold plate, you're giving us a real lead. It's no coincidence. And then as soon as we start paying, you're like, all right, he's in. All right, give him shitstorm. And like we're getting some bullshit like instead of us getting service requests, Others are asking for they're providing services, they're
Yeah.
submitting service requests as if they're submitting a service request, but in reality they're just like offering their
Mhm.
services cold outbound. Such a And it doesn't work. Nobody responds to that. It's a shit show. So
Yeah.
anybody
Mm.
listening on LinkedIn, please don't do this. This is really weird. I'm not gonna continue my subscription. Good reminder to cancel my premium subscription. It's bullshit. Free trials
LinkedIn.
are effective though. For those who's listening, get a free trial of LinkedIn Premium. Try it out, get a lead, close the deal. Don't continue your subscription. Open a new profile and do the same thing again.
There you go. We might need to cut that from when we send this to LinkedIn.
No, let's post this. Honestly, I want to get more. OpenAI is getting less censorship. We should do less censorship on this podcast as well. I don't care about language. I don't care about politics.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, but we don't want to get shadow banned from the LinkedIn algorithms. But
I've seen some viral posts that are shitting on LinkedIn go viral on LinkedIn nonetheless.
yeah, maybe that's a mass effect. Like everybody's like, yeah, screw LinkedIn. I'm gonna retweet this on their platform or repost.
Yeah, it's funny.
Crazy, crazy.
What else we got here for today?
That is all, I believe. Yep, there's the handshake.
That's the absurd photo. James, please remake this with the new GPT. Go on Sora.com and remake this
Yeah,
photo, please. Let's make a better
yes.
one.
Take this exact one and tell it to make it real life and put some hair on me for me, please.
Put a hat on at least for Andrew.
Yeah, one of those, with that get up I got there. I feel like one of those nice Sherlock Holmes hats is exactly what we need.
Yeah. Dude, like, look at, man.